Jerry Mallory here, SBNationPrivateTrade.com. Yes, our Lions are 5-2. And I'm here to talk about culture change for this Detroit Lions team. So often we've heard the moniker SOL, same old Lions. And we know what that means. I don't have to explain that to you. And I think the game against New Orleans, this game that we just were victorious 24-23, it's not a monumental thing, but it's a shift. It's a cultural shift. A culture change can happen overnight, like you sign a Peyton Manning, Denver Broncos, although they were good with even Tebow, but that changes your culture. A guy like Barry Sanders retires. Yes, we were mediocre then, and we were a little bit mediocre thereafter, but that is a culture change. You know, if Aaron Rodgers goes down in a Paul George fashion and is out for the whole season, I'm not wishing that on him. That's a culture change, at least for that season. So culture changes can happen quick, or they can happen gradually. And I think the Lions are gradually changing their culture. Yes, it would start with Jim Caldwell, but we're talking specifically about the in-game shift that we saw against New Orleans Saints. Let me explain. Now, year in and year out, we have seen the Lions defense have a good game. You know, 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters, 3 quarters, minus 1 or 2 drives. This is what the culture for the Lions has been. Usually, it's against a good quarterback. This quarterback carved this team up. It was the opposite. This was the #1 defense in the league, and this was our first big test. And it was looking like we failed the test. It was looking like, you know, this whole debate, is this a good defense or not? Maybe we weren't as good as we thought because Drew Brees had his way with us. But it was the opposite. Instead of the defense playing good and at the very end giving in, the defense played subpar. But at the very end, because the offense started to wake up, they needed to stop. The defense was impressive. This defensive stance, that interception followed by stopping them so we could run out the clock, this was more impressive defensively than anything they've done in any of the games so far this year, despite giving up a huge amount of yards through the air, because they changed the culture. They had every opportunity to falter. You know, it was almost like, to me, I was talking to a coworker. The defense has been on training wheels, and they've been doing good. Training wheels being they have not faced great offenses, and so they've looked good. So this defense gets the training wheels taken off in the form of the New Orleans Saints, and they start to wobble big time. Wait a minute. This team isn't ready to ride the bike. This team needs to go back to the training wheels. But they weren't. They stumbled, but they didn't fall. When it was time to get that big stop, the team did just that. Getting a stop when you need it, getting an interception when you need it. And so to me, this is a cultural shift because sports, success in sports, there's so many things tied into it. Athletics is #1. You've got to be good at what you do. There's a mental aspect too. There's a psychological aspect. There's something to be said for a team that will rally behind their coach. There's something to be said for a team that everyone gets along. Winning can become contagious. You know, especially a game like this, New Orleans, you've got Reggie Bush, Joique Bell, Issa Abdul-Quddus. You've got Joe Lombardi. These guys have a history with the New Orleans Saints, so they definitely wanted to walk away with the win. The fans started to leave. I mean, there was so much turmoil going on, every reason for us to fall and to prove that we needed our training wheels. The defense responded. And yes, the offense did too. Stagnant, vanilla, lame. Golden Tate turned up, did what he had to do. Matthew Stafford, who I have a bone to pick with him. We'll talk about that on a later show. He stepped up, did what he had to do. This is a shift. It's a small one, but it may be something when we turn around, you know, no matter how this ends this season or thereafter, and say, you know what? No, it wasn't the Dallas game, although that was impressive. It was the New Orleans game. It was the New Orleans game in the middle of the year in 2014 that it was the beginning of this cultural change. Hope I'm not saying a bunch of nothing and then next week we go to Atlanta in London and wash all those things away. But I have a feeling that there is something going on. I'm on to something. Do you agree? Do you disagree, Jerry? It's just one game. I get it. But like I said, the cultural change can sometimes happen slowly, and I think this game was monumental. Now, looking at Atlanta, which we'll talk about in a day or two, yeah, easy win, not at all. They're very desperate. We're in London. You know, that's weird. They do have a good offense. Trap game. You can name all the cliches you want. You know, even as far as this team getting too comfortable, we don't want them to rest on their laurels. You remember the laurels, whatever. You remember the Tigers, that team, as we're sitting here watching the Kansas City Royals in the World Series? Remember the Detroit Tigers? Well, they got off on this great start, and they got cocky. Remember those Zubas? They start wearing the Zubas and taking these pitchers turned down for what? And, they never really got things together. They won the division, but that strong start, they never looked as good as that moment. I'm hoping the Lions don't own Zubas. I hope they don't have a Zuba moment in London. Hope they don't get overconfident. Hope they stay focused. And I think they have the right coach that's going to reel them in and let them see that it is one game at a time. No matter what previous success you had, you have to bring the same intensity, if not more, each week in order to be successful. All right, guys, that's going to do it. A day or so, we'll talk about the Atlanta game, any other news and notes revolving the London matchup against the Atlanta Falcons. So, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, this has been Jerry Mallory for SB Nation and PrivateDetroit.com.